It's another month, and every month me and Mrs. T like to put on a little community podcast. We do the launch sequence every week, Citizen Central every month. But we also want to continue to give a little voice to the community and let folks come on here into the greenhouse and talk about our topic of the month. This month, it's going to be about gameplay, because we've got a lot of gameplay coming this year. Well, we say that. We've got a lot of gameplay in the design phase, in the design engineering and implementation phase, and there are a lot of different viewpoints as to what's most important for Star Citizen, what's going to push it forward, what might be the most influential gameplay. Some people think it could be beacons, some people think medical, capital ship gameplay, bringing in the Polaris, whatever it might be. There are plenty of different viewpoints as to what should be coming into Star Citizen in a big way this year. So we're going to host the Greenhouse podcast today. It's open to the community on our Discord server as always. You can call in and join me right here on this screen as my guest, or we can just, chill and chat, and you guys can look at this dude as well. And yeah, that's what we'll be doing for the next couple of hours. We try to stick it to about 6 minutes per person. So I've got a little timer here, believe it or not. A little handy dandy timer. It's crazy what these phones can do these days. And we'll stick to about 6 minutes. It always depends a little bit on how many people are coming in, how many are in line. We've got 12 people RSVP'd for this one, but generally you get maybe 1 out of every 10 people to RSVP actually showing up. So who knows how it's going to be, but we've got a first guest here all ready to go.
Yo, it is working now.
Okay, so it was a different profile thing going on?
No, do you know what it is? Because I'm the black alien, right? I got 2 profiles going on, right? So, nobody knows where to get me. That's just the whole thing about the black alien. I'm everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So you might catch me on that Discord, you might catch me on this one, but this is the one that works.
All right. Well, I'm glad we found one that works. How's it going?
100. Not too bad, man. How have you been, my friend?
Good. Just getting along with waiting for the Star Citizen news to pick back up. How about yourself?
Okay,
You've been what have you been thinking of the year so far with this game?
Oh, do you know what? It's been up and down for me. Every time I've kind of jumped on Star Citizen, this year, let's take it from the beginning, right? So jumping back into Star Citizen this year, I found out that all my ships had been wiped and everything, right, from the last kind of patch. So I was like, okay, gonna have to do a bit of grinding again. I managed to get myself back up to the ships that I had. Still a few upgrades to do in them. Still got to get the XL1s and everything else put in them. But apart from that, near enough where I left off.
Okay.
I think what they've added is really cool. I'm loving the features, the tractor beam, all those little features right there, even with the salvaging and stuff like that. I think that's really been something that's been quite cool.
Cool.
What I'm not feeling about with Star Citizen at the moment, right, is some of the ship and the flight handling, and just in general, like how the game feels. I feel like earlier patches, it felt something a bit more. It felt a bit better, but now I guess as they're doing more, it feels like they've slacked off a tiny bit. And also one thing I'm gonna bug them about, right, is black hairstyles. You as a black man knows, they need to be more diverse, right? Because we got no black hairstyles, and they just added new hairstyles recently. I've seen this, and they still ain't added no black hairstyles, right? So that's the issue for me, right? The main thing is the black hairstyles. But
Did you watch
that?
Did you watch CitizenCon?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they showed off black hairstyles there. So they've got them working. Yeah. It's another update coming out later this year.
Okay, right. So let me give you some insight into this, right? I made a huge complaint, and actually I was just speaking to your missus below. One of my friends actually worked on the Star Citizen, on one of the teams for Star Citizen. He was into modeling, and he was developing things. I'm gonna try and get him on here so you can have a conversation with him, because I know you'll like him. What I did like a year ago, I complained to one of the major developers, right? One of the guys who's always in their videos, right? And I found him on Discord, and I complained to him, and I was like, listen, bro. I was like, the lack of black hairstyles is ridiculous. I really made a big thing about it. So if they really like decided to add this stuff into Citizen Con, and somebody please get a clip, or I'll go and look for it myself. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, go.
I would like to think that's because of me.
Oh, they've got the CIG's always been very receptive to the community, and trust me, there has been some heavy pressure from the black community trying to get a little bit more representation there, and I think that they've been working at it for a while. There's actually been a character, Tisha Pacheco, they introduced back in 2018, I think it was, and they
Right.
told us, yeah, we were working on the hair engine, the upgraded hair engine that'll help with more hairstyles like hers and other hairstyles we want to do, but that'll come a little bit later. And now here we are. It's 5 years later, but they're getting it
Do you
done
know what?
finally.
Do you know what the actual reason was that they told me as to why they didn't have black hairstyles in? I want to see if you know first, but I'll tell you what they told me.
Yeah, it's difficult to make.
Nah, they told me it was because of it. It was clipping through helmets and stuff like that.
Oh, well,
Which I
everything
felt
clips
bizarre,
through
right?
helmets. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
think that would
well,
be.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly,
No,
right? I thought it was a bit like,
they went over it in depth at CitizenCon. I would go watch that panel because they talk about the way that they've made it work, the work they're trying to do to actually make it work better in ways that other game companies can't do, and why it took so long.
yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'm definitely gonna go and give that a watch after you've done this podcast. I
It's a
think
good watch.
one thing from yeah, no, I hear you with that. I definitely believe you. I think one thing with Star Citizen is, as we all know in playing Star Citizen, right, is that Star Citizen can be a very fun game, frustrating game, but more than anything, Star Citizen, the level of detail and what these developers have done and what they've managed to achieve via what they've been doing is amazing. And we know we're still in alpha, so we're expecting all of these things to keep on happening as they're happening. However, they are doing a really good job. They are making something that our community loves, and I think everybody can resonate when they say they take a break from Star Citizen for a bit, because it gets so repetitive of doing the same old stuff and making this and having a big bankload of money. It kind of gets boring to the point of, like, I feel like we should take it and do like a Star Citizen RP or something like that, like a 5M, but
Yeah, I
for
think
Star
there's a lot of
Citizen,
RP. There's a lot of RP potential in this game.
there's a lot, man. Like, can you imagine like having like some really big like companies and like corporations that people just group together and work for, and just shit breaking out between the next person and it's crazy. And you think about how far 5M's gone, for example. Well, you think about this as Star Citizen is on a scale of like is like it's on a bigger scale than 5M ever is, right?
Mm.
Star Citizen's massive. The potential, the detail, just you're gonna catch me on my 890 jump with some real gangster, you know what I'm saying, with some real gangster-minded people in the universe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Star
Sip-
Citizen's got a lot of potential for that, man. It really
Nah, man.
does.
I hope to see it in the future, man. I really hope we can pioneer that way forward. And you know what I'm saying? I hope everybody that hears me is like can resonate with that as well, like with that RP perspective. I think it would really, really add that next level of, oomph to the
Yeah,
game and
yeah.
stuff like
I
that.
think that's
And
going to be a big part of it, for sure.
what joysticks do you use? That's a question I have for you.
I'm mouse and keyboard.
Your mouse and keyboard.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What,
So I'm
you're
not
not a
really.
joystick person? Or?
We move around so much that I don't have the time to set them up. So I generally just
I
stick
know
to.
because I don't know. See, I don't know if you remember me, right? But this was a while back. We're going back a couple years back. I started watching your videos very early on. Um, you told me that obviously where you lived. I'm not gonna say it because I don't know if you want people
Oh
knowing.
yeah,
But
people
I know
know.
you told me where
People
you
know.
lived.
It's fine.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You told me you was in Turkey, and then you told me like you go back and forth between the States and Turkey, and
Yeah.
Mississippi in the States at the moment. So yeah. But do you not find like having a pair of like joysticks at the crib would be useful every now and then?
No, I do absolutely. Honestly, they're expensive. It takes a lot to set them up. I just don't have the time or the space really to do it. Once I do settle down a little bit more and we've got our computer sets built out, like that's the joysticks are kind of like after you've built your computer, right? We still have stuff that we need to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
for our computers for them to run well. So those will
Okay.
come later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What kind of spec are you running on your PC? Last question, and that's it.
I am doing Gosh, well, in this computer, I've got a 10700K processor, which is our bottleneck, but 3080 Ti graphics card, 48 gigs of RAM, SSD. No, everything else is pretty standard. It's really the processors that mess us up. It's what happens with
Right,
Star
okay.
Citizen. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'll let somebody else come on and do their thing. But listen, it's been a pleasure, man. You are the guy. Make sure everybody you subscribe to this guy because he's the guy. Listen, he's got the hoodest people from London listening to his stuff. You know what I'm saying? So listen, subscribe to Space Tomorrow, right? Because
Shout out
that's
to
the guy right
London.
there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shout out to the Black Alien, man. Come on. All the best, man.
Cheers,
And
man.
catch you
Thank you
next
for
time.
coming
Yeah?
on.
No
Appreciate you,
worries,
dude.
my
Have a
boy.
good one.
Take it easy. See you later.
All right. Catch you later. So yeah, I think well, I mean, it's kind of on the screen. It's not really on the screen, but character customization is a pretty important part of the game, and honestly, not something that people usually talk about too much, but it's definitely a big thing. I think I can probably like find the spot here. I didn't want to click through it too much and spend that much time on it, but it's important. Here you go. This is the talk that they had about all the work that was going into that stuff. I would definitely check this out if that's something that you're interested in. The work that they've done to go into their hair and the way it works, it's kind of cool because a lot of people have complaints about Star Citizen taking too long or taking too much money. And then you realize when a company has a lot more ability to spend money on something that might need to be cut to, ship a game, it starts to explain why they can hire somebody that spends a ton of time to come up with some proprietary method of making hair just so that it works that little bit differently. And there's not going to be a publisher or a set of investors that are pissed that they wasted money on that. Instead, there's just backers. But what ends up happening is there are backers like my man Alien here who also want this stuff. So you have you have a balance across the community of some people want this, some people don't. CIG says, hey, we want to do, the stuff that we said we were going to do for the community. So the people who want it went out and get it. That doesn't happen every time. They say no to a lot of things. They don't do quite a few things, but man, they've said yes to a lot of things too. Oh my God. But yeah, I do appreciate what they're doing with the hair, and I can't wait to see what the next update is. Because like he said, first one was cool. It gave us some hair, as you can see here in this video going on. But the next one, that's what we're waiting for. That's when we get that's when we're gonna get the character customizer. That's when we're gonna get beards. We're gonna start to get the ability to change the color of our hair, which, gosh, during the presentation really made some people angry. Makeup, complexion. We're going to be able to do more of like our facial sculpting. You can see kind of back here, it's a much better system than we've had before. And like all kinds of, different skin stuff. It's a lot better character customizer and better hairstyles. So that's a good one, honestly, to call out. All right. Our next guest today is going to be, I believe, going to be Valisov, member of the org.
What's up, Tamino?
What's up, Valis? How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. What is what's your topic for me today? What are you looking forward to?
For me, it's master modes and control surfaces. I think that's the most interesting thing coming for me personally.
Master modes and control surfaces. Okay. Tell me more.
After, we've been doing tons of org events and getting involved in, last week with like Jack and stuff like that, seeing how much space combat devolves into jousting, and it's master modes looks very interesting, and playing it a bunch in Arena Commander, it just feels way better, and it feels way more engaging than it currently is in the PU.
Yeah. It's very it splits people a lot. Why do you think people have such strong opinions one way or the other on it?
I think when you start getting into like the 1% of people who kind of play games for a living, basically streamers and people who kind of devote tens of thousands of hours to something that, they are very much edge cases. And I think you see this in games like Tarkov and things like that. Anytime any kind of something like a skill-based matchmaking comes into, so like Halo or anything like that, you start getting people when they can't we call it pub stomping. For people who don't know that, but like they get people who are really good can go into a match with no skill-based matchmaking and they can just click heads all day, and it kind of makes it a bad experience for people who are at the bottom. And they complain a lot about the skill gap shrinking with master modes, but to me, you can't just listen to your people at the very top, because that there's such small percentages.
Mm-hmm.
If you have someone go in, play, and they're instantly deleted, they're not going to play again, right? Like it's not a fun experience for 99% of the crew. So to me, like, that's going to be, I think, the hard part about all of this stuff, where how do you ride that line of like engaging the people who are kind of like promoting your game on streaming and things like that, but also get people who are not into that, but they want to just go play an hour at night and have a good time, and not just get completely dumpstered on outside the second they leave Seraphim because somebody's like just blasting them and flying circles around them. So
Sure.
So I think master modes will help kind of compress that a little bit and make it a little bit easier for the fight or flight. And
So is it pretty definitive then that master modes is shrinking the skill ceiling? Because I feel like it goes back towards the model that people always liked before 3.0.
I mean, like, if you hear someone like Avenger 1 or anybody who's kind of complains about master modes, like, oh well, it's just ruining it for they're making it so the people who are good, they want to be good, and they want to kind of have that elite edge. But to me, I like it going back to the way it used to be. You have to have a decision, like, am I going to fight or am I going to get the hell out of here? I can't just we were fighting a guy in an arrow last week who could completely disengage, have his shields recharge instantly, come back, disappear off radar, and just gun it out of there. And to me, that just didn't feel like a very he stayed alive with, I think there was like 8 of us against him, and that to me doesn't feel like a balanced engagement.
Sure, but at the same
one
time,
fighter shouldn't. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, at the same time, that person is saying, hey, I'm good enough to do this, I should be allowed to.
Sure, but I think that's to a point, right? Like, you shouldn't have an arrow be able to fight against an entire squadron.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
Yeah, I think there's like a line to split between, oh, this person is legendary, look at how much they can do, and then also the game kind of scaling it back and being like, yeah, this person's legendary, but also this allows for too many people to just stomp.
Yeah, I mean, you run into this in every competitive game, right? Like, and it goes back to like Halo 2, Halo 3, all that stuff. There's always going to be those 1% of people who can just kill everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's kind of the big debate right now. And to me personally, as somebody who's played Star Citizen for 10 years or whatever, I appreciate master modes. I love flying. I love doing all that stuff. But I think it needs to be more accessible, and a little more forgiving. But I also like the fact that control servers are coming in where you can, if you're better in atmosphere, your ship's better, you can kind of pull that fight down at Atmo, and then have a real dogfight, like a simulator style thing. You worry about your airframe, and I like the whole the idea of trade-offs and you making a decision, and it's not just about who has the best turn rate on their nose, right, and who has the best they can roll the best and jank their pip and all that other crap. I think it needs to be more based around actual flight model and actual how things are working than you just have air superiority. I don't know. Yeah.
It's definitely interesting that it doesn't feel like they're just across the board trying to make the game easier. They might be doing things to the flight model to make flying in 0G different, but at the same time, they're also introducing things like component targeting, which obviously makes your ability to target things specifically a lot more important. Or, like you said, control surfaces, which incorporates your aerodynamics and makes you think more about how your ship is shaped. And then engineering is going to bring in more heat systems and possibilities for your ship to break. And it's like, it's not just an across the board nerf of, hey, we're taking away that skill ceiling. It's more just trying to balance it throughout different aspects of flight, it feels like.
100%. And I like that to me, when they bring in master modes and they're bringing in this ship targeting and they're bringing in all that choice that every pilot and every crew is going to have to do of like, what am I going to do? Am I going to fight here? How am I going to reinforce my engineers and make sure they're on staff to fix this stuff? And are my gunners good? Or am I going to run, drop my shield and get the hell out of here? Is armor coming into that?
Yeah.
Are they going to make size 1 and size 2 weapons not affect bigger ships? That to me is the interesting part of all of this stuff, that it's not just about, And on and or off, like my guns are on, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta figure out what I'm doing, and that to me is interesting, and that's what I look forward to this year.
And I guess really, when you look at other games, this is the part that you don't see of other games when they come up with a system and realize that system doesn't do what they want it to for the game, so they scrap it. And it's
100%.
it's interesting. It's really cool to be a part of that process. And like, this is clearly a design decision. It's not right or wrong. So having the community engaging amongst each other and saying whether or not people are right or wrong is pretty healthy for the game.
I mean, like if you think about like Bungie, like, you know, they do internal play tests and internal LAN parties, right? And they've got 16, 32, however many people playing locally and giving feedback immediately. Now Star Citizen, you've got thousands of people doing that. And that can just be better for the game, I think. So
Yeah.
it's cool to open that up and have us involved. And, you know,
Yeah.
I don't wish it on anybody at CIG. That's a lot of feedback to digest and deal with, and a lot of people complaining. So
It's hard to
get
get
on
through, I
that. Get
imagine.
on them for being transparent about it. You know, that's cool.
Yep. All right, man. Thank you
Awesome,
for
dude.
joining me today. Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about your interests. The flight system's definitely going to be a big one to watch this year.
All right. Have a good one, man.
You too. Catch you later.
Cheers.
Yeah, master modes is definitely. I'm sure there's plenty of people watching this who are for or against master modes in different forms. A lot of people like myself are probably waiting to see how it comes together, because there's a lot of nuance in how quickly your ship changes from one mode to another, and how this affects ships that are larger and things like that. So we got a lot of work to do in the flight model, I think, and it's not going to settle down for a while. They're going to get these initial ships figured out for Squadron probably, but for us, this is going to likely be a multi-year ongoing thing. Master modes will be nice to have in game and then go through multiple passes to refine its gameplay effect. Yeah, I think so too. Hey, Walgrit, thank you for the subs, mate. Appreciate it, dude. Gifting out the 5 subs over on Twitch. Like the homie. YouTube's giving problems. You remember CIG saying a great pilot in an Aurora will be able to win over a poor pilot in a better ship? Is that still the case with master modes? Yeah, I think so. If anything, it seems like it kind of means that Gladius, or that better ship, whatever it might be, it would be more likely that the Aurora pilot can beat them, because that ship now it can't take advantage of maybe super high speeds and heavy shields and weapons all at once. It needs to pick and choose. Then again, so does the Aurora, but simplifies the equation a little bit. Our next guest today, Mock Shade. Welcome in, my friend. I'm going to invite you up. Hop on in here with me.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good?
You doing a camera today?
Yeah.
All right. Let me throw you on here.
Sure.
Very nice.
Got the background with all my junk.
Wonderful. People like the junk. The junk is what tells everybody your personality. It's all the conversation starters.
For sure.
All right. Give me 1 second. I got to mute you here. There we go. All right. How's it going, man?
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I've only been in New York for like maybe a month or so. But yeah, I'm digging it.
Been enjoying it?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of been with Star Citizen like around the edges for maybe like 2 years now, but I think like a lot of people after 318 it was just tough, and then like 320ish kind of jumped back in, and now it's like, oh, you know, we can play this now. This is like legit, you know, you're not going to get annoyed with the crashes and stuff like that. Like, so
when did you join Star Citizen?
It was probably 2021, somewhere in there. You know, bought like Cuddy Black, and then was like, oh, okay, well, you know, what do we, you know, how do we do this? And then try to do like the mining stuff and all that. And I'll be honest, it's tedious. You know, there's a lot of tedium in the game still, but I feel like that's kind of par for the course for like a game that's in that, you know, development phase. Because that's, you know, so I sort of come from that background. You know, I got my degree in game development. Actually, I don't do that. I'm a software engineer for like or for the VA. I'm a contractor for the VA.
Probably pays a bit better.
But the hours, man, it's the hours. You know, God love them, and you know, our heart goes out to all those developers these days losing their
Oh,
jobs.
yeah, it's rough right now.
Heartbreaking. But man, the hours are absolutely crushing. So it's like, okay, I want a life and I want to be able to enjoy
Right.
things, and,
Yeah.
and you know, maybe one day we'll go back to that. But
That's rough too. It's really disappointing to be like so into the industry and really enjoy the games and even the studios and like seeing the people who make them and then just realize how abusive it is to the employees. Like I feel like, I mean, not to get too deep into that, but I just would love to see them be unionized so they don't get laid off 2,000 people at one time, you know?
yeah, it's tough, and you know, with the merchants and stuff like that. You know, it's like, okay, well, yeah, sure, there's some overlap here. You can see where, okay, well, we don't necessarily need, but yeah, you know, yeah, like you said, not to get too deep, but it's like 2023 was a banner year.
Mhm.
Let a lot of people go. So anyway, not to be
It's
too
a big
downer of a
topic right
topic.
now. Like it's hard
It
not to
is.
talk about that in gaming.
It
But
is. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that to say, like, I get the development side. You know,
Mhm.
I've kind of been in that world. So for me, I don't know. There's a little known game these days. I think Tribes, it's old school. It's from like the 90s.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, and so I played the third one, Tribes of Vengeance. Got super big into it. Tiny community, you know, maybe towards the end there was a couple hundred people, and then a local studio bought the rights to it, and I got to go be an in-house alpha, and this level of excitement. And I think we're kind of in that phase right now of this level of excitement of like, hey, we're building the game, and like you were talking with Valis, like, hey, all of these ideas of hey, we're dreaming right now, and these dreams could come true, and we have, you know, a potential to impact that, and the direction on the game. And I felt like I got that. And you know, long story short, that game kind of fell flat. The developers didn't, you know, maybe they didn't structure right, and the funding went under. And
Hmm.
long story short, it was not great. But you know what, right now they're bringing a new one back, and it's like the same excitement again.
Okay, that's
So
cool.
you know, but this level of excitement around the game, and I guess my big thing with Star Citizen is like, you know, I've tried Elite Dangerous and, you know, some of these other um, space sims, and they don't really scratch the itch. They don't really go far enough, and it's like Star Citizen has all that potential. And I just wonder the MMO side of it. I'm like, to me, what is that? How are we really gonna like um leverage that to bring people in? And the thing I always go back to is one of my first MMOs was PlanetSide, and man, it was the most awesome thing ever. To For the first time, you get like hundreds of people on the same side. We're fighting over this base for hours, and then finally you win. And wow, that was such an epic, awesome thing.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of like, how do we bring things like that? Because it feels like that's the kind of game that this could be. Not necessarily the combat, but the scale, the epicness, the interaction of all the people. Everybody's got a job. Everybody's got a job. We're all doing things. You know, how do we bring that stuff in? I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
curious to your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you've been here a couple of years, so I'm sure you've heard plenty about server meshing.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of that's sort of their holding back from more of that larger scale MMO feeling kind of gameplay. And I think that's kind of why we're seeing the development around both base building and capital ship gameplay starting to kick off this year, because server meshing's finally in a state where they're like, okay, this might happen in the next couple of years. That's when I think you're going to start to feel more like this is an MMO rather than just your experience that you're running around playing. It might not be like your normal MMO where you're seeing 15 people every single place you go. But you're going to see more spaceships leaving space stations. You're going to see more people showing up to dynamic events and more people being on ships together rather than just flying around ships on their own.
Yeah. I think that's great, and that's gonna be super fun.
Hmm.
I just think we're gonna need a lot of systems for that to really feel the scale. And I just wonder how long it's gonna take for us to get
You mean,
5, 6
okay, you mean star systems rather than
star
like,
systems.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
well, Stanton's done at this point in
Sure.
terms of space. Um, Nyx is probably mostly done. Granted, they've been reworking Delamar, but that's a system that the main landing zone, the one landing zone they had, was already in the game. They took it out of the game in 2019, and I think that was when Microtech came in. So it was kind of the first place in the game, and then they were like, okay, we don't need this anymore. Stanton has all its planets, so they took that out. That's probably in the Nyx system, which is, I would say, by the time we hear about it, probably a year away. Pyro's done, so that would be 3 systems. Odin is the main game in Squadron 42, so to bring that up to PU standards, I'd expect a couple years on that maybe. Vega, same story, as that's also in Squadron 42. And then I think the main system they're really going to try and push for to be their main kind of launch system would be Terra. So I would expect, 3 to 5 systems in 3 to 5 years. But I don't.
Is that enough? Is that enough? Do you think that's enough in that
Oh,
time
absolutely. I think one system's enough. I don't really subscribe to the idea that the star systems are what expands Star Citizen. I think it's more the reputation systems, the factions that they have, because there's so much space in this game already. They don't really use much of it. But I get where you're coming from as well, in the sense that we need more star systems. I think that would definitely make the game feel more different in terms of scale. And
Mhm.
I don't disagree that we need star systems for the game to work. I think that they can hit that MMO feeling without necessarily expanding star systems. But tell me more about like what you're looking for. You said planet side kind of fighting over bases.
Yeah.
Take like a gameplay that you like, maybe the gameplay you're looking forward to. How would you like to see that scale up with people?
Honestly, the most interesting thing to me right now would be probably like security around like we've kind of done it in the org, a couple times where we're just stimulating the idea of like protecting, whatever, say it's a freighter, say it's like someone carrying cargo.
Mm-hmm.
And when all these things come into play, like the quantum system, right, comes into play, and that really gets going, and cargo hauling becomes a thing. um the incentive to attack that stuff is going to be so much higher. I mean, it already is, but I think it'll be higher, and I think it's going to be cool to actually, you know, fly escort on that kind of stuff. I think that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And just and so the thing that's exciting to me is like, oh, imagine that cross systems. So imagine, oh, we got to jump, not just this system, the next one, and then the next one. What are we going to run into along the way?
Mm-hmm.
That's super exciting to me, and I think there's so many places for like emergent gameplay there.
That's fair, because they do have the different security levels between systems. So you'd get like even the difference between Grimhex and uh, Daymar is going to be smaller than the difference between Stanton and Pyro, right? It's
Right.
kind of what you're saying. Do you think so? Are you really looking forward to Pyro then as like a big advancement in the game for you?
Yeah, I think that could be super cool. Just with the fact of like, if we do get a lot more of the systems that they want to implement, like let's say we get base building,
Mm-hmm.
and because that's going to mean we're going to get resource gathering. Now there's a reason to have these giant cargo ships, and there's something at stake. We're going to build something with all these materials.
Mm-hmm.
So actually having like, hey, we're going to do this run, that's fun. That, to me, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we got to go out, and then we got to protect it, and what does protect it look like, and all of these things to try to figure that out. And
Yeah.
we got to understand strats and all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it.
I think that's like their new, for lack of a better term, their new carrot. Server meshing and like the new system has been this thing everyone's been excited about for so long, and now they're about to launch it, and it's like, okay, but now you can build bases there, and you're like, whoa, all the things I can do with that. Yeah, it's exciting, and that's I think that's like the biggest potential for the MMO stuff that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just, I mean, all the things that go with it too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
all of the different systems it's all kind of like, you can kind of, and that's what I meant by like, we all have our own image in our head of like, what is this going to look like? in practice, it's going to be different, and hopefully we can all just kind of get around that and be good with it, because they're going to try to. It's going to get tweaked and things like
Yep.
that, but what we'll probably get will be fun to a degree. It's just how far away is that? And are we? Yeah, I'm a new waiter, right? Like I haven't been waiting as long as a lot of people have for a lot of cool stuff. So it's like, are we going to be able to get there within a time frame where, it's reasonable? And it seems like they're like turning a corner. So it's super exciting to just be around the game at this point.
Yeah, I'm guessing as somebody with experience, you can kind of see where they are developmentally with a lot of the systems. From my less, I never got schooled in it or anything, but from my perspective, it definitely looks like they've reached a level where they're a lot more confident in the systems they've been building than before.
Yeah, absolutely. What do they call it? The Maelstrom system?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. A decade ago, I tried to throw something together like that in Unity, and it was super finicky, and it just never really it's super cool when you get physics and like dynamic destruction to work, but just looking at even that now, I'm like, oh wow, they kind of like figured this out, and that is super cool. Is that gonna run? That's my question. It's like, is that gonna be a bottleneck? Is that gonna like hurt performance? We'll see.
The biggest thing is like what happens when an outpost gets destroyed? Does it just automatically respawn? Do they have something come in and like kind of repair it so it's over time it respawns? Like
The
how does that
players
work?
need to repair it.
Well, yeah. Imagine you had like a mission sensitive outpost you had to go to, and like you couldn't complete it because nobody repaired the building yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's where it gets messy, right? And then you get like griefing involved, and it's like, okay, well, they got to figure that out. But yeah, you want some training wheels, right? You want some guardrails, but like let it kind of live and breathe as a real world.
It's gonna be, yeah. I mean, everything that they do to answer kind of the questions we have presents more questions, which is an interesting journey. But I'm beyond excited to see some of the things that you were talking about, like base building, and even just the idea of being in like an enemy organ, scanning a planetary surface to be like, man, where's that base that they keep attacking us from? Stuff like that.
They've got an outpost and they're trying to take over territory. They're trying to expand theirs. Okay, now we need to, just so much like cool, and then that just builds like this idea of like there's strategic stuff happening outside of the game for stuff that happens inside of the game. And that's really, I think, where the fun happens, right? Yeah.
Oh boy. For some people.
Yeah.
All right. Were there any other thoughts? Any other things that you were really looking forward to over the next year or two? Do you want to talk about?
No, I just want to say, thanks for putting out the content. I mean, you're one of the reasons I got more involved with the game. I was like, wow, this is great stuff. Thanks for what you do, and keep doing it.
It's fun to do it, man. I'm glad that people enjoy it, and there are enough people out there that like space and Star Citizen in general that we can keep this going.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being part of the community, man. Thanks for joining GII as well. Hope to see you in an event soon.
Yeah. See you.
All right. Catch you around.
Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. So, looks like we don't have any more guests today. Man, I don't think any of the people who RSVP'd came. Oh no, Valis came. I guess you guys are, and Moxshade came. I guess you guys were RSVPing more to hear it than to come on. I do invite you though, if you're a part of the GII community. Oh hey, look, this is what was playing behind him the whole time. If you are part of the Garden community on our Discord, y'all are free to come in here and share your thoughts. We do this every month, just about, and I like to keep it pretty free. It used to be limited to people who were more active on our Discord, but now it's really just anybody who has been there for like a couple of days and is able to meet our standards of, not like telling me to go myself on camera or something. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's about it for today. Thank you for listening, if you are. As always, we've got this ad-free on audio platforms, any podcast platform you like, but it's also available on video. In addition, we've got our regular podcast, Launch Sequence and Citizen Central, both of which are coming out a little bit more often, but Citizen Central is also monthly. And if you didn't catch it, the latest video is up on YouTube, all about the things happening in 2024. If you happen to be listening to this like 5 months later, I would love for you to go see that. Do a little retrospective. Tell me if we had anything going on that was actually in that video. But other than that, this has been The Greenhouse. Thank you for coming.